Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how I applied Distressed Foundry Wax to my embossed cardstock from Spellbinders Embossing Folder of the month for October. And I'm also going to be bringing in the small die of the month for October from Spellbinders. So let's get started. So here is the small die of the month. And you have a bunch of sentiments with the shadow dies behind it. So these are just dies. And then you have like some poinsettia flowers and leaves and things like that. So you can create really pretty images with great sentiments. So I'm using the Merry Christmas sentiment. I die cut the shadow from Gold Mirror cardstock and then the words from Wild Cherry cardstock and then just adhered that on top of each other. So you have your nice sentiment with the shadow behind it. Now I did all my die cutting off camera because, you know, that saves a ton of time. So my poinsettias are die cut from Wild Cherry and Paver Red cardstock. My green leaves are die cut from Evergreen cardstock, and these are all from Cardstock Warehouse. My centers and some of the stems are die cut from Gold Mirror cardstock. So I'm just going to adhere these together really quick to show you that this really does go fast even when you have to die cut a lot. And I'm just using some Barely Art glue and my crystal katana and just getting these nice and adhered. I die cut these little small flowers from white cardstock, and they are also going to have some gold centers. I just want all of this to be really cohesive. So of course I'm using some classic Christmas colors. I've been into that a lot lately. I think last year I did a lot of like pink and turquoise or red and turquoise, which I really love. But right now I'm just really into these, this traditional Christmas color combination. So I'm just going to finish adhering these, and I die cut a lot of flowers. I actually ended up using most of them, or if not all. I think I had a few left over, but I like to die cut extra because I hate to always come back and have to die cut. That drives me nuts, or having to come back and color something again. It bugs me. So I like to kind of over die cut to make sure I've got enough stuff going on. I'm adding some of these other little leaves. I think they're leaves, but they could be other kind of flowers, but I just did them as leaves. Okay, so here's the embossing folder of the month, and isn't this gorgeous? The size is always great because you can do a slim line, a mini slim line, whatever you want to do. I'm spritzing my cardstock. This is the Evergreen cardstock with my Distress sprayer just to give it a little bit of water so I can really get a good image. I'm lining it up where I want, like the part of the embossing folder that I want the images on because it is an A2 size. I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, the Platinum 6, and now we've got this great card. So let's get into this foundry wax. I'm using Gilded Distress Foundry Wax from Tim Holtz and Ranger Ink, and I'm just going to apply this with my finger. I mean, you can definitely apply it with a paintbrush, and I'm sure you could apply it with something else if you wanted. But I'm using my finger because I feel like I have a little more control. So I did trim this down because I don't want this to cover my whole cardstock piece, the whole A2 size, if that makes sense. But I'm going to shake it up really, really good. I'm going to squirt a little bit on my work surface and then just use my finger. I want to highlight these embossed images. And when I start laying this down, you're going to see how pretty this embossing folder is. I think this gilded gold color against the green is absolutely stunning. So if you've never used the foundry wax, you are going to heat this up when you're done and it's going to melt, and it gets even prettier when it melts. Some areas I have a little bit darker, others a little bit lighter, but I'm tapping my finger into the foundry wax, and then you can see I'm tapping the excess off onto my work surface because I don't want too much where you can't see the detail. Like if you get a blob, there's a couple spots I got a little bit of a blob. It was okay, but as you can see, the lighter the better because you can always build up. And a little bit got on the not embossed areas, but it did not bother me. Also, this Evergreen cardstock that I'm using from Cardstock Warehouse is textured, and I'm using the textured side. And so you can really see that with the foundry wax. So now I've got my tweezers to hold that, and I'm just going to melt it with my heat tool, and it melts really fast, as you can see, like way quicker than embossing powder. So look at how gorgeous that is. It gets even prettier when you melt it. Look at how stunning that is. What a great way to really highlight your embossing folder images. Okay, so I have a strip of Gold Mirror cardstock. I want to add that to the back side of my embossed piece of paper here. I just want a little strip of gold. So that's why I did it so minimally. I just felt like that transition between the green and the white cardstock, I felt like needed a little something. So that's why I went with the gold. I'm going to place this down. I originally had the card in mind in this orientation, but I actually flip it around and I like it so much better. So here are those sentiments that I talked about earlier. It says Merry Christmas. I'm going to pop these up with some foam tape and then just add this to the white area of my A2 size card panel. And I'm just going to get them lined up and then I can push it down. And then we have all of our flowers and leaves that we can start putting in place. And if I was going to cover up that transition between the green and white, I actually would not have worried about that gold strip, but I didn't want to cover up that transition. So that is why I added that gold strip, if that makes sense to what I was doing earlier. I like to lay out my elements first before I adhere things down because I tend to change my mind a lot. So I got some of these things in place, some of these flowers and leaves. So I'm just going to start adhering those and then I can kind of just tuck in everything else. I do like to start with my bigger images, and I think that makes the most sense when you are adding stuff to your layout. Start with your biggest images and then work your way to your smallest images, and you will find that that makes for a really eye-pleasing layout. It makes it easier to do because you already have your big images out of the way, and then you can just tuck the small ones in into open areas and where they fit. So that's kind of my thought process behind my madness, I guess. So I have the nice poinsettias there. I have the bigger leaves. Now I'm going to start tucking in some of these flowers and then some of the smaller leaves. So I love the white flowers because there's a lot of green and red going on at the top part of this card. And just adding in some of those white flowers really kind of diffuses all that and brings a lightness and an airiness upwards because we do also have that white below. So as you can see, it just kind of breaks all that up and looks really, really pretty. So I'm going to tuck in some more of these leaves, get a few more of these white flowers. I felt like I wanted one more and I just really couldn't figure out where. And I actually brought in another one. So it is really turned out really cute. And I'm really in love with this embossed background. I think it is so, so pretty. So here's my last flower, my little last white flower. And as you can see, I don't have much left over from all those die cuts that I did earlier. I don't need to add anything else to this, no sequence, nothing, because it is perfectly done. So if you guys have this in your stash, definitely here is a good idea of how to use that embossing folder. So thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project and I hope that you feel inspired. Have a wonderful day and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.